Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's subject, today's video, is something that I've been meaning to make for a long while, but because the nature of certain things that I'm going to talk about, it's delicate, energetically, I waited for the right time to actually make this so it will be easier, better, correctly absorbed. So think of it like a technical discussion. It's not about judgment, it's not about anything. In the end, all my videos in the end are in many ways like that. The thing that affects the most, the quality of life and how we experience life is actually how we interact with each other, our relationship, the way we relate to other people. And this thing, and also what results from how we interact with one another. So all of this is correlated. It's like connected to the level of energy that's present at any given time. As I explained at other times, time actually is actually energy accretion. So at any given point in time or in energy, things might look and feel in a certain way because of the amount of energy light that's available at that point and what one can access and can express and work with, create with at that particular moment, energy point. So the relationships that we experience, the way we relate to each other, our interactions, what we understand life like friendship, family, love, interest, work, relations, things like that. They're all connected also to as I said, to this thing. And what we've seen, what humanity has seen until now, how these things have evolved and transformed, where certain things are still very much primitive, is because the energy accretion, there were lower points in energy, and as the accretion was growing, it's like the spiral, we were getting more energy, more concepts, more things would become available. As the energy grew after the last hit on the planet, when it lost 2/3 of its energy. So reaccreting meant that's why it's like why the past looks different than the present or the future or whatever. Is because of this. Is because at some point there is less energy and it's very minimal what you can do or what you have access in your mind. And as this grows, there's more infusion of energy, then the mind can expand and actually can access other thoughts, other concepts. The point that all religion make with like fasting and things like that, whether it's like abstaining from food, certain drinks, intimate relationships and things like that, the true meaning behind it was actually lost and actually used as a manipulation to keep people in fear, is actually meant to create space inside you. And when you create space inside you, you start to see things for what they are and how they really are. But this is when you actually have enough space, and that, as I said, it needs to actually accrete more energy. You have to clear the garbage inside you. We always go back to that. We can't escape that. So the things that we still see in our reality right now in terms of, let's say, relationships, like families or love interests, whatever, because that's where the most problems, dramas, issues are still, is because the energy has been so tight. So everything that has been experienced has been also tight, and like it felt like those things haven't really changed or moved, like maybe a little bit now in the last decade or last century, whatever, but still there's pockets of reality on this planet that still experience even tighter expressions of life and patterns, social, economic, whatever situation, which is actually a reflection of like what one can access, and if enough energy has actually entered that space, through the people, because we are actually like antennas, and actually we bring with our own presence like more energy, well, consciously and unconsciously, I mean not unconsciously, I mean like as we actually insert here, we actually bring more energy with us. So the problem, as I said, is that has been too little energy. Is like things have been tight, and when things are tight and limited, certain things can happen, and certain situations like, I don't know, distortions of how people perceive certain things or people, situations, ideas, how you interpret certain things, is also in direct connection to this situation, the level of energy available at any given time. So when we say, oh, there is this massive manipulation of this and this, whatever, this is possible because at a certain level, this can happen. And when we come here, we know that this is what we're going to experience, and we came for this, and then we'll move further, and that's like explore the story further. But you know that this is what you're going to experience. It's just, it feels very different where you're inside it and you're actually within the limited pocket of like energy that you have available at that particular moment, or like right now, although now there is more energy than it used to be even, I don't know, a year ago. So in terms of like, because again, the biggest drama and the biggest problems and the things that keep people distracted in this world is the love interest, the love relationship, where there's still a lot of drama, trauma, and suffering, misery, things like that, because people, everyone in the end want to access love. And because the energy has been limited, and actually experiencing truth and love for real has been limited, and like the clarity to understand what that is has been limited for most people. So when one enters a relationship or something like that, depending on how much energy, light there is inside that person, connecting with another person, whatever, that's how much that person can express on or can do at the particular time or moment in energy where that person is. And that's where the drama starts, because sometimes you feel like, we're not on the same level anymore, or you start on the same level but you feel like the other has moved further, or like instead of like going together in the same direction, you feel like, we moved in separate ways. This also happens because here you learn through polarity. You have to learn both sides of the coin, whatever concept that is of that particular coin. In this case, like concept, you're given a situation when you learn, left side, and then after that you move into a situation where you learn about the right side. So that's why happens, all sorts of like why this relationship ended, or how did it end so abruptly, or whatever, is because of that. Because, you come here to actually gather the pieces of information, put together all these fragments into actually a coherent mind, and it needs some time to do that. Yes, when you have less clarity, you make less beneficial choices, but in the end there's no real wrong or good. This actually is like, you think of this only inside the story, because outside of the story nothing really matters. It's a thought. So the whole thing is just a thought. So we care, we feel that it's whatever, it's important, or it hurts, or I feel joyous, whatever, it's here inside the story. And we're interested in how the story evolves. That's why I insist on clearing all the emotional, mental, sexual garbage, because you need to create that space inside you so you can see. It's not about the sin. Forget about the sin, because that's part of as I said, part of the dogma that actually started in a fear point, in a very fearful point, and it kept on bringing that fearful point into the present, and we forget actually what, well, most people forgot what actually it's about. This whole thing, why you need to, like, at some point create like stop eating, drinking, or having intimate relationship or whatever, is because of you need to create space inside yourself. It has nothing to do in the end with whatever, good or bad. Good or bad is relative in the sense that yes, at certain point in energy, certain things can attach to you. If you have certain thoughts and patterns inside you, because of how things have been here, messy and whatever, certain things, as I said, can attach to you, can influence you. So then you have to always be vigilant. You always have to, like, as I said, creating that space and having that clarity. You also transform yourself. You don't stay at the point where those things can happen or can affect you anymore. So it's not just like, not to be, I should say, oh, I'm bad because whatever, I'm doing this, or if I'm good if I don't do this. No, it's about moving beyond being affected by a certain effect of like how energy and the level of energy that has existed and what happened inside this level of energy, what all sorts of games, machinations, manipulations, all sorts of things. So that's the actual goal here, so you can see, you create space so you can see, and then to move beyond the pattern, because then we go back to, as I said, the thing where, well, a lot of people talk about patterns, but they don't understand that there's a solidity of the pattern which needs to be dissolved. And when you live only one thing, I'm gonna say, you live in a little town and you think that's life, but you're somebody that moves from that little town and experience life, well, in other places as well. Think, oh, okay, life is a little bit different. Well, now in today's life and how things work, people have access to, through technology, internet, and things like that. We finally are getting all this, like, all the pieces of the puzzle together, and we say, oh, this is like this, we're similar in here, a little bit different there, but we both think the same way in here and whatever. So technology actually helps us. Well, technology is a reflection of like how much energy is available at any given point. And yes, we have reached a point where we can help ourselves and say, oh, okay, this is this is that, whatever, and then we can actually move forward, like further in abstract thought, which is, that's what life is. It continues to expand in its abstraction, because that's what life is. Everything is absolutely abstract, but it feels like it's not, because you're used to it and you don't feel the pattern. You just feel, oh, this is life, this whatever. And as one reaches like a level where you start to like separate yourself from the pattern and dissolve it, it's weird, because it's like repeating a word and the word loses its meaning. It's kind of like that. And that's when you really start to see that life is like, oh no, so life actually is not necessarily this pattern or that pattern, is the thing that creates all these things. And I actually can experience other things, and maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I should do something new, and feel something new and be something that doesn't exist here. But for that, as I said, you need the space to go within. You need to, inside yourself, to see, look for that thing, let it crystallize. And now going into like the work relationship, that's another big problem issue. But now was how the world is right now with the pandemic and things like this. We reached a point where people start to see that maybe work and how we do stuff, it's not necessarily anymore limited to a certain or a particular space or location to do that. That doesn't mean it's bad to do that. But as things evolve, people move beyond the need to just like, oh, I have to work to earn money, because right now our reality is connected to this concept. In this reality, to get things or to exchange services, goods, and things like this, you use money, whether you like it or not. And there's a lot of debate, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's all sorts of things that it's at this point for me, it's just... But anyway, so As more people access more of their space inside and understand that life can be more than this, as the pattern inside themselves dissolve and you can see, like, for real, this is not an intellectual understanding, this is actually something real, something, an experience, a level of reality. And there's like, you start to see, oh, that's more, there's this, which you cannot express here, but because it's beyond a certain point in energy. Yeah, so that's why in the end, all these religions said that, well, you should fast, you should like stop eating, drinking, having whatever intimate relationship for a short period of time. Although in this society, I mean today's society, there is a polarity between like whatever, thinking like this, like, well, this is spiritual if I do this, if I fast, if I stop doing this and whatever. Or at the other extreme is like to overly sexualize, overly whatever, grotesque and things like this, which it kind of loses its power, because love is something that can be expressed in different ways. And as one evolves, as one like grows its energy inside, into the space, it sees that, oh, okay, so actually the love didn't disappear in that relationship, but because we didn't have enough light and we couldn't see this as we were progressing in those patterns, and plus the distortion, we couldn't see each other anymore and we couldn't really appreciate each other, but we learned this. But the love never left. I mean, the love was there, but it was just like blocked by all this like construct that came as we were, as I said, as we were moving through these patterns of life, whatever you were doing life. And life, I mean, honestly, how life is right now, with, how to say, the structure, like go to work, go do this, whatever, it kind of kills the love. So it's just very stressful most of the time. But as we're moving out of this, whatever, survival mode, survival society, and discover that, oh, we don't have to, because now, well, we have technology, we have all sorts of things that can make our life easy. We shouldn't be dependent on this limited structure, whatever, and we can actually live life, and everyone could have enough. But like I said before, with the I was giving an example with the electric car, I don't know, a few years ago when I was talking about something like that. Now the electric car, well, it's part of the new paradigm. 3 or 4 decades, that was like a no-no. It was like, because people that were, what should I say, on top of the situation, like who was making money from the car industry and whatever, was like, no, we don't want to lose, well, oil industry and stuff like that. We don't want to lose that monopoly and whatever. So that influence over those things. But as I said, as the energy progresses, as we were growing in our Christian energy, all of the fear, all these things dissolve. But yes, there will play out like a lot of like sometimes conflict, polarities, whatever, opposite sides. But things will move beyond this, and there's so much more to experience life and love. I hope that was interesting. See you next time. Ciao. These things transform, and then you can get more. And when you reread something,